Hello, my name is Mohib Siddiqui. I'm a mechanical design engineer and I've been on the field since 2020. I've worked on automotive ballistic protection, developing both integrated and discrete armoring solutions. One of the most intense projects that I've ever worked on was the Hamza 6x6 armored personnel carrier. This vehicle houses 12 armed personnel, supports P7 armored protection, and can carry a 12.7mm anti-aircraft gun. In my role, I was responsible for designing, developing, and integrating the turret, the hatches, the upholstery, and various critical components of the vehicle by adhering to the design for engineering principles. I've also worked on discrete ballistic protection for several production vehicles. One of the most important lessons I've learned is to design through the eyes of the manufacturing and maintenance technician. As convenient as it should be to assemble, it should be just as convenient to maintain. As a child, I was always fascinated by how things worked. I would often break my toys just to see how they performed, and not much has changed ever since. Only difference is I'm just a little better at disassembling, reassembling, and building new machines. The most fun part of my job is working with complex mechanisms. I was once tasked with animating certain maneuvers of the Bell 412 helicopter rotor for demonstration purposes. I made a working assembly on CAD software from parts I reproduced from on-site inspection. I reverse engineered a 2-stage bear claw latch with bilateral locking systems. It was a really complex but incredibly fascinating project. I prototyped a fingerprint and password protected sliding gun safe. I went through multiple design iterations, working with different types of locks and latches for the design. Here I was tasked with synchronizing these two claws you see in this apparatus. At first I came up with racks and pinions, which would have worked but was too complicated and not smooth enough. After a few ideas, I remembered to keep it simple. So I installed 2 telescoping cylinders with rod ends. The economy and simplicity of this solution was highly satisfying. As they say, the best design is the simplest design that works. I've developed several parts with 3D printing and CNC machining. Here are some parts I designed with a client for bike accessories. They were intended for mass production, so the design was iterative. A personal favorite project of mine was modeling the Hamza 6x6 vehicle. I remodeled the CAD for 3D printing and made custom LED lighting. The lighting was not a requirement, but I went ahead because wiring scale models is a beloved hobby of mine. Here I am beside the real thing, and here I am holding the miniature. I've also worked on surface modeling. Here's a Corvette C6 body kit I modified using Blender. Here are some of the renders I've made over the years. I'm experienced in fluid simulation with a solid grasp for the validation processes. I've also authored a conference paper in the field. I understand CAD for analysis, which is what I did for my first job as a research assistant. I've simulated the famous porpoising phenomenon in 2D. I coded the user-defined functions in C in order to model the suspension system of the vehicle and calibrated flow conditions after performing extensive analyses. Outside of work, I remain just as busy. I got into woodworking after fixing my guitar. Since then, I've built things like a wooden mallet, a lounge chair, and even a floating desk. I like to sketch. I sketch old buildings and rich atmospheres. Right now I'm fixing my car's HVAC system. I've spent hundreds of hours restoring this car. Paint correction, parts replacements, upholstery, still a work in progress. I once fixed the wiring of our now 60-year-old Vespa, family heirloom. I managed to source original circuit diagrams from the internet, and I learned a lot about automotive electrical systems from this process. If there is something I don't know how to fix, I learn how to fix it. Because for me, understanding how things work isn't just a hobby or a passion, it's just the way I'm programmed. Engineering is in my blood, always has been since day one.